Well, hello there, and let me change our layout so we are all together. Good to see you today. Welcome to another Ignite Press book launch livecast. I'm excited today because we're bringing you a terrific author with a very powerful story that I think is really beneficial for everybody because we are either in a place of grief or we will be in a place of grief. And Jennifer's story, I think, will really inspire you. My name's Everett O'Keefe. I'm the founder of Ignite Press. And if you are joining us for the first time, we here at Ignite Press specialize in bringing messages to the world through the most powerful medium ever created, and that is the book. And if you have a story or a message you need to get to the world, visit us at ignitepress.us, where we can talk about your book and your plan. So let's get to the VIP here. I've got Jennifer Hacker here with me. And Jennifer is the author of the new book, From Gutted to Glorious: Transform Your Grief and Rediscover Your Joy. Jennifer, it is great to see you. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
So, this is a big day. Your book is launching on Amazon. It's available in Kindle and paperback. And by the way, anybody watching, go grab your copy. The launch price of the Kindle has been reduced to 99 cents for today. If you're watching a recording and it's not 99 cents, I'm sorry, but it'll be like $9.99. You'll be fine, I'm sure. By the way, if you're watching, feel free to participate in the chat log where you can ask your questions, and I'll be sure to pass those along to Jennifer as we go. So, Jennifer, why don't we get started this way? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and then take us into your story of grief and how you have moved through that process.
Okay. Um, well, just general background about me. I'm Jennifer Hacker, born and raised in South Texas. I grew up in a small town, and yes, I rode horses and raised a couple of cows and goats. Um, I was an accountant and a CFO for 20 plus years before I transitioned into coaching. And then eventually I found grief coaching. Um, I'm the mother of three amazing children, two of whom I still get to raise, sort of. They're 21 and 19, so not so much anymore. But, um, and then I have one son who passed away when he was 3 months old, and that's Jackson. And
If you
he
don't
didn't,
mind, if you don't mind, let's talk about Jackson and your time.
yes, so that was in 2003. He was my first son, and he passed away when he was 3 months old. And really, there are not words to describe that kind of moment, that kind of pain, that kind of um, devastation. And one thing that's really sad is, and one reason I wrote the book is because people will tell you, even therapists told me, um, that I would feel kind of like my normal self again after a year. And that is, for most people, so not true. It's hard to believe that therapists can even think that or say that, um, because you actually grieve forever because you love forever.
Yeah. And you losing a 3-month-old child, your first child, who you carried for 9 months and spent 3 months with well, actually, you spent 12 months with your whole life wrapped around around Jackson.
Yes.
Your activity, your everyday activities, your focus of time, energy, and emotion, all focused on that little boy.
Yep.
And then suddenly, because of SIDS, you know, which even SIDS itself, right? What the heck is SIDS? Like, we don't even, and you don't even get to point at something specific, I suppose.
Right.
Um, so as you were going through that time, did you seek out, or did you have grief counselors or a therapist that you were working with to try to pour into you, and it sounds like you discovered some limitations there.
Yes, I did go to grief counseling for a very brief time. Did not find it very helpful, and I have had many, many people experience the same. Grief counselors are not trained. Well, I shouldn't say grief counselors because they were just counselors. They weren't grief counselors, and most counselors are not trained to specifically deal with grief. I found tremendous support in an online SIDS moms support group. So that was kind of my lifeline because I don't recommend this, but I went back to work 1 week after he died. I was back to my full-time job.
Wow.
Um, so my lifeline was the internet and communicating with people in that group. And some of those ladies became really, really close friends and are still friends today. And so I would I would actually get work done. I mean, I don't even know how, but in between working, I would email and communicate back and forth with these ladies, and it was a tremendous gift in that horrible time because they understood. Having someone who really, really understands exactly what you're going through is something that I think a lot of people don't have.
Yeah, because the therapist or the counselor, unless they've gone through your specific tragedy, they may have gone through other tragedies in their life,
Hmm.
but it's not the same, right?
It's not the
'Cause
same. And
it's
I
just not
one
the
thing that
same.
I think is actually kind of funny is David Kessler is a very famous grief expert and was a grief counselor to many, many, many people. Had lost his mom, had lost his dad, felt like he was, you know, competent and capable of helping people through grief. Well, when his son passed away, he said one of the first things he wanted to do was call every single client he ever had and apologize because when it's just not the same. I mean, on one hand, you don't want to compare grief, but the feeling was so much different.
Yeah. I it's certainly not equivalent in any way, but but there's a difference. Like, um, when I lost my dad, I saw it coming, and it's expected and it's normal that I'm going to lose my dad before I pass. When I lost my best friend and business partner on a like completely out of the blue, that hit me far harder, even though you would think emotionally I'm probably more connected to my father. And it's a different journey entirely. And and a child, as a dad, I just don't want to. I don't want to let myself go down that road right now because I'll be a blubbering idiot right here on the
Mhm,
screen with you. And
mhm.
and we didn't start this for you to be my grief counselor today, right?
Well,
Uh,
I would volunteer, by the way.
yeah, thank you, Jennifer. So there came a time when, I mean, obviously you've had two other children, is that right? Two
Yes.
other children since then, and you decided to be a grief counselor. How did that come about?
Actually, it came about because I had been just doing regular life coaching, career coaching and helping people with, achieve and set goals. And I had a client come to me who her main issue was grief. Her husband had passed away 5 years prior, and I couldn't help her. I mean, I could help her in the sense of I understood her, I could validate her. Um, I was that understanding person who really gets it, but she did not get the healing that I wanted for her. And then I knew that I didn't have the tools to give her the healing that I wanted for her. Now, honestly, truthfully, she wasn't ready yet either. She came to sessions and this is in the book. Um, she just wasn't ready. I'd say, have you tried this? And she would say, no, that doesn't work. And have you tried that? And no, that doesn't work. So she wasn't ready, but also I didn't have the tools. So that's when
Mhm.
I went to get certified to be a grief recovery specialist. And that is also when I actually experienced my biggest healing going through that program. It was,
Really?
yeah, I before I went to that training, I felt like I had healed as much as a person could heal. and life was as good as it was going to get. And when I went through that program is when I realized I still had so much more deep work to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, what inspired you? What inspired you to write the book?
Mainly, I mean, I always wanted to honor Jackson. That was one big reason. I wanted to do something with what I felt, what I learned, what I knew. So that was part of it. But also, like, there are so many great books and authors, and I quote them in my book. I love these tools, but I think there was a gap. Like a lot of what those authors talk about are the early days of grief and the hard realities. And you think you're going crazy. And like Megan Devine, she says it's okay to not be okay, and that's true. But I wanted my book to be more long term, more hopeful, and to let people know it's actually okay to be a lot better than okay. You
Mhm.
can be gloriously alive again. And that's what I want people to take away from it.
Gosh, we talked about this, I think, in our very first call together when you first reached out, and it's that whole thing of, people come up to you, like you said, and they ask, "Well, hey, how are you doing?" Right? And there's a stage at which you kind of like, "Well, gosh, I'm doing great, but I lost a child, so I can't tell people I'm doing great." Like, right? I mean, that I guess that comes out, and you're like, yeah, like almost like you're not allowed to be doing great because you still have this deep-seated sorrow that'll that you're not going to go away. And I'm sure some people feel like they're being disrespectful of the person they lost if they say, I'm doing great. Instead of like they feel like they're honoring them more to be saying, well, yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm struggling. We're, struggling through. Um,
Yeah.
when I when I talk to my friend who passed away, when I talk to my friend's wife, I know that she's gone through that those same thoughts, those same thinking, like, and I'm sure some people feel the same way going through divorce or other things like that. So, and it really speaks to your title, right? From gutted to glorious.
Yeah.
And I remember this was your title from day one.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, gutted, that hits you. Where's glorious come from? And how do you find it? So let's
Well,
go there. Let's go there. How do you find it, Jennifer? How do you find the glorious after being gutted?
I mean, I will say it takes a lot of time. One thing that I tried to do is I'm like a reasonable, practical person. So I just really tried to honestly think my way through grief. That doesn't work, by the way. But
The logic doesn't prevail.
doesn't work,
Yeah.
and honestly it's crazy because people who are not in that moment will try to convince you, right? They'll say you still have your house, you still have your wife, you still have this, you still have that. And that's true, they're not wrong, but those things cannot heal your broken heart. Like, you just can't. So number one is it takes time, so don't think that you're going to find glorious after a year. I do think that's not true. um, but then and I discuss this a lot in my book. Many people find it in different ways. Like, some people find very deep healing from methodologies like EMDR. I don't know if you've heard of that, but the eye movement rep desensitization,
Yeah.
that's one big one.
Now that you spell it out for me. Yeah.
Hmm. And then some people, it's behavioral therapy, CBT, and there's all kinds of methods. But for me, and what I write in great detail about in my book is grief recovery methods. And these are really step by step exercises that you can do that address not only, like, because a lot of us have a big loss, right? Like, you have your dad, you have your best friend. We're carrying that around. we're also carrying around a lifetime of other things that we never healed from. Like when, as from a very young age, we experience loss and never deal with it because we're not taught. We're not told like you have to move and change schools. That's a loss. And your parents say, "Well, it's a better school. You'll make new friends. It's not a big deal." And so we just put all these things away and carry them around with us for our lifetime. So this process that I talk about in my book is to address all of those losses that have built up over time, all those unresolved wounds that are still there and still causing pain. So, a tremendous amount of healing comes from just honoring and acknowledging those hurts from the past. And then you can dive deep into whatever that heaviest loss is for you. And these methods are, evidence based and incredibly effective. And it's really just a matter, like, I was running from the pain for so long, and I just found that facing it was the key to letting go of it.
Now you founded the Center for Help and Hope. It's a terrific name. What kind of what kind of problems have you helped people through? Like what kind of experiences?
Oh goodness, there's been the Center for Help and Hope is, it was weird because that's actually how all of this started. um, I wanted to help women experiencing the hardest times of their life and doing it alone. And so I kind of did everything backwards and sideways. So this whole journey started with me starting that nonprofit organization to help women like me, like single moms, people who had lost children, people who had no support systems. And actually, I had people who would have helped me but didn't know how, right? So I started the nonprofit organization. Then I was like, well, now how am I going to help these people? So that's when I got certified for life coaching, and then eventually got certified for grief coaching. So um, I personally helped people. I have had clients who have were on the verge of divorce, who have their families are still intact. I had a vet who, oh my goodness, she just had so many health issues, parenting issues, every issue you name it, she had it, and she's just thriving and doing so well now with her children. I have one lady who had serious body dysmorphia. Um, it's
Really
it's
quite
just
the
tremendous
gamut.
the kind of help and that these ladies have had. And the center, I've been so busy that I've been tempted to just quit fundraising because fundraising is not my forte. But knowing what the ladies that have gotten help, I just have to figure it out. I just have to figure out how to make that keep working. And we help a lot of people with grief too. Now I have a coach because I don't have time hardly anymore to coach. So I've got a coach that I collaborate with, and she helps people specifically with grief.
That's great. If people want to find out more about the Center for Hope and how, or I'm
Help and
sorry,
hope.
Help and Hope. I'm sorry, I want to transpose them.
Yeah.
Help and Hope. Where would people go for that information?
So there's the website, centerforhelpandhope.org.
Okay, wonderful. I'm going to see if I can put that in the chat for us. Center for Help and Hope.org.
Org. Yes,
I'll,
and that would
I'll,
be
I'll
that
get
would be
that.
amazing because every dollar that gets donated is, time that I don't have to spend fundraising.
All right, we'll see if that works. Um,
Yep.
fantastic. Now, let's go on. Let's continue into the book here. First, who'd you write the book for?
So, as I was telling you earlier, I really honestly do it. This sounds like a very convenient answer, but it's true. But I did write the book for everybody can benefit from this because everybody carries around those unresolved wounds. Um, But then, more specifically, um, I wrote it for people who think they're going to be stuck in grief forever, for people who think they're doing something wrong, right? Because they think they should be farther along in their healing, for people who think they've made progress and then, something happens, a anniversary date comes along, or, a movie or anything can be a trigger, but then they just go dropping right back into that depth of pain, and they think that that means something's wrong, and they think that that means they're not making the right progress, when in fact that's just totally normal, because you're never going to forget who you love. And so there are going to be times when you miss them, and there are going to be times when you ache for them, and that's okay. So I want those people to know that that's totally normal and it's totally okay. And the world will tell them you need to get over it. And if you don't get over it, then there's something wrong with you. And that's not true. And I want people also to know that life can be a lot better than good enough.
Okay. Well, let me remind everybody that From Gutted to Glorious is for sale now on Amazon, where you can pick it up in paperback and Kindle. The Kindle's on a special launch price of 99 cents. And by the way, I think this is really a terrific book to consider as a gift for people.
Mm-hmm.
We all have people in our lives that we know have gone through things and are going through things. And I think that this is a really powerful resource, and that I think someone will, you know, this is the kind of book they're not going to thank you because you gave them, a really fun novel to read. They're going to thank you because you improved their life. And I think that's really, 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 really powerful and important. Jennifer, I asked if there was a portion of your book that you would like to read to us. And so if you're prepared for that, take us away.
Okay. Oh, let me get my glasses on. Can't see.
Yeah, we're all there. I get it.
Ah, okay. This is from the end of the chapter on being gutted. That's that's where you start. The gutted period feels like a series of endless shuttle runs. There's no defined timeline or transition from one period to another. But one thing is certain, the road is long. You can't sprint through grief. It's not a 5K or even a 500K with a finish line and a red ribbon to break through. You can try, like I did, to work your way through it, think your way through it, or avoid it, but you can't escape the shuttle runs of grief. So, what do you do during the endless days of the in between? You take tiny steps and remind yourself the pain will be intense, but it will not overtake you. Even when it doesn't seem possible, you will survive. You can honor your pain in small, manageable doses. Treat yourself tenderly as you learn day by day to live without your loved one. Love that is lost is hurt. Love that is lost hurts. Pain calls for your presence. Feeling opens the door to healing.
That is terrific. Thank you for reading that. I wanted people to just get a taste of it, because you know, I think a lot of books about grief are just dark places to
Mhm.
go, and you continuously, even from there, that section where you're talking about the hardest part, the gut, the gutted stage is there is hope, and the hard part is, I know that you're in the midst of that, you're in that tunnel and you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And the truth is, it isn't necessarily bright light at the end of the tunnel. There's still that darkness is going to go carry for maybe the rest of your life in
Mhm.
some aspects, right? And
Yep.
so I really appreciate your perspective on that. So, Jennifer, going forward, what is it that you hope to see your readers take out of this book, or
Um,
some of what you hope for the readers to take out of this book?
I want them to feel understood. I want them to feel relieved that there's nothing wrong with them when they still feel pain, years and years and years after their loss. I also, though, want them to take steps to live more present, I want take steps that they read about in the book to heal much more deeply, so they can be more present and fully participating in their life. I know a lot of people feel kind of just like permanently broken, and they're not. You can be restored and healed, like on a soul level. Um, and I have a quote that I can give you from the book if we have time.
Absolutely, please.
I really want them to deeply take a hold of this. Um, Grief is not a life sentence or a punishment. It's the sacred honoring of love.
Mm.
Grief and love are bound in a covenant that endures beyond death, beyond explanation, and beyond understanding.
That is both powerful and inspiring, and gives release and relief. Um, Not a death sentence, not a life
Not
sentence.
a life sentence.
That is powerful. By the way, I want to share, as we just have a couple minutes left. I want to go through some of the comments that I've been seeing in the chat log. One of which is this: the book is the most comforting and hopeful book for people grieving, and and I suspect also a powerful tool for those people who are alongside people that are grieving, who don't understand. Like I'm gonna guess, your husband had his grief to go through too,
Mm-hmm.
but he probably couldn't understand your grief in the same way. Not having carried and cared for in the same way, like a mother's relationship obviously is unique. And I could see where a book like this would be really helpful for the spouse of someone grieving, the friend or the family member of someone who's going through this process of grief.
Yes,
And be very
absolutely.
powerful. There was also a question here. Let's see here. We got several people buying the book. Uh, so that's terrific. And I'll show you that. And so we did have a question. Zelda asked, can you explain your intuitive grief model? Here, let me hide that. There we go. Can you explain your intuitive grief model and how it differs from traditional grief networks? And this will
Okay.
be our last question.
Okay. Well, okay. That's going to be a hard one to make short, but but I will try. So the traditional grief model is the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Grief doesn't really work that way at all. Those stages weren't even written to apply to someone mourning the loss of a death of another person. They were written for terminally ill people facing their own death. So
Oh, it's
those
a
stages,
totally different circumstance.
totally different circumstances. My grief model is called the 6 G's of grief, and they're not stages, but they're periods, and they are overlapping. It is not a linear process, but you will go from gutted to grinding. Everything is a grinding chore. Then you will gain momentum. Then you will grow in hope. Then you will be in a phase that I felt like I was in for a long, long time, which was grateful. That was my good enough period. And a lot of people think that's it. That's acceptance. But there's another place to go, and that is glorious.
And glorious. Well, thank you very much, Jennifer. I'm excited for your book and for people to go read it. And thank you very much. We're going to sign out now. Clock is running, and thank you so much for coming. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Everett.